My name is Jason Miller, Academic Dean here at Friendship. For those of you who are joining us who will be new to Friendship next year, welcome. For our returning students, we're excited to have you with us as we do this freshman orientation. If you have a parent or if your student is unable to be with us, we will send out a recording of this when we are done with this meeting. It'll take a little bit for it to upload due to the length. But once I have it, I will send it out to everybody. Hopefully at least later today. If not, it'll be tomorrow morning. Mr. Strickland is also with us. He's our college and career counselor and our male guidance counselor. So I go first so that I can hog all the time. I'll save him what's left of the hour and let him close us out with a preview of what's to come on the college side and as we approach the end of the 4 years. But since this is a little more about freshman year, I go first and hog all the time and just leave him scraps at the end. So we'll go ahead and get started. Let me set my screen to sharing again. While I'm doing that, any of you that have a question, just unmute and ask as we go. I will pause here and there just to totally stop and ask for questions. Feel free. That is why we are here. Mr. Strickland, do you see what I'm sharing? Yes? Okay. Let me kind of reposition everything that I'm looking at. And hopefully that will have us ready to go here. Okay, so that's just the welcome letter. We can move past it. If you have printed it, great. You can follow along at home. If not, it will be on the screen. We will walk through a lot of information. Again, stop me as needed. But we will try to summarize for you. We won't take the time to just read in front of you. You can read for yourselves and go back and review. You can rewatch the video or email either of us with questions, and we will try to handle that. So just some basic requirements for Friendship Christian for the 4 years that your son or daughter will be a student with us. Number one, you see that we require all of our students to take the ACT. Starting this year, we have actually started to offer that during the school day to our sophomores and to our juniors. So that'll be something that they'll get to do here at Friendship. We also offer it the national test dates. Most of them we will offer that here as Friendship as well, or at Friendship as well. Usually there's like 6 or 7 of those a year. So those are Saturday mornings, but then we also will offer a couple times as sophomores and as juniors during the school day. Second basic requirement, all students will take a math every year. Excuse me just a second. On me. Okay. Okay. Here, and I've got a little bit of a volume issue, and I have no idea if there's anything I can do to resolve that. So hopefully it's just an issue that resolves itself. So I will try to, hopefully I don't need to speak too loud, but I'll try to be steady with that. All students must take a math every year, even if they take an extra math and get their 4 in by the end of their junior year or something like that. They still have to take math every year. And then the course requirements for each course area is detailed there on your screen. See 4 Englishes, 4 maths. All of those are minimums. So again, math has to be every year. English has to be every year, just taking 1 per year in most cases. Science is 3 and the rest on down the line. I will highlight a couple things as we go, and most of those we kind of have set that all of our freshmen will take some of these classes and all of our sophomores will take these classes. I will note the physical education. There's a half year there. If they play a high school sport, it says varsity. It technically doesn't have to be varsity. It just has to be high school. If they do that and do that to completion, that meets that requirement. It can substitute for that. I'll also note foreign languages because of the fact that through a virtual school, which I'll touch on in a little bit, we do offer several through the virtual school as well, in addition to Spanish being taught here. They do have to have 2 years of the same language. So should they take a year of something as a freshman and decide to switch as a sophomore, then they would have to still take 2 years of that language. So just make sure you understand it's 2 of the same on that. Beyond that, in addition to the requirements, they will have 5 blocks over the course of the 4 years that are just strictly choice, where they can take dual enrollment, they can take electives, they can do virtual classes, they can do whatever they choose, and we'll look at some of those options in a little bit. So there's at least 1 spot each year where they have flexibility to just choose something they will enjoy, choose something that will help them as they get ready for their college path, or whatever reasons they might have for that. The last line, you may hear of students talk about Tennessee scholars. We don't talk a lot about that. One of the main reasons for that is that all of our graduates will meet the academic course requirements for that. So we don't talk a lot about what you have to do to get it, because you will all meet those requirements as long as you meet the attendance requirements and such as that. So we don't, you won't hear us address that maybe as much as you might some of the public schools. All right, we'll scroll on. The next 2 pages, again, we'll just highlight. This is a little bit of a breakdown for what you might expect to take each year. A lot of these are not hard and fast. There is some flexibility in some of these, but this gives you a general guide to what your options might be. It will make a difference whether you end up on an honors path or a regular path. For those transferring in, obviously your freshman mathematics will partially be determined by what you are taking this year. If you're in Algebra 1 now, you'll go into geometry. But if you're in an 8th grade math or a pre-algebra, then you would be taking Algebra 1 as a freshman. So there are some of those options there. You will notice that in many of the classes, unlike in the lower grades, there's both an honors and a regular level. As a college prep school, even our regular level classes are considered college prep. The honors level classes will have an additional workload, and that can vary by class, but an additional workload and an accelerated pace so that they can get further in the book, complete the book, maybe even move on beyond the book. So those are some of the key differences in regular and honors. And as a freshman, there are 4 courses that have both the regular and the honors options. As they get a little older, they'll also add the possibility for dual enrollment, but that won't begin as a freshman. Okay. Here's a quick look at junior and senior year. I will go ahead and leave that on the screen for a minute. I will pause at this point and ask if anybody wants to stop. We will talk in a minute about how to be qualified for those honors classes, but any just general questions about what you have seen so far? If so, please unmute and fire away. You do not have to be afraid to ask a question. We're happy to take time to answer.
So what is the total number of classes they will take each year?
7.
Thank you.
One of those, yes, one of those will be Bible. And I'll go back up. We'll refer to freshman year for now. So next year, they would expect to have a math, an English, a science, a language, again, Spanish on site, or there's virtual options. They will have a world history and geography, Bible, will be their 6, and then they'll have one that is a choice. But seven classes a year. For those coming from other schools, we do have what's called a modified block, where our blocks do meet year round. We never liked the idea of maybe you have math in the fall this year and then you don't have again until the spring of the next year, a situation like that. So our classes do meet every other day in our middle school and high school. In the high school, Bible does meet for about half of the time, but it meets every day. So we do have Bible in the high school every day. Anybody else on this area? Okay, we will scroll on. You can stop me anytime. You will have this sheet in your packet, and this, to me, is one of the most important pages to keep. I would definitely print this and fill it out as you go through the next 4 years. If you have taken Algebra 1 this year, that would go on the 8th optional line for math. If you took a pre-algebra, then that would not go on there because that is not a high school credit, but the Algebra 1 is. The state requires that to be on their high school transcript. So if you've taken Algebra 1 this year, you can go ahead and write that in on that 8th grade line under the math section. But here again, you also see the number of credits that are required for each section. You could end up with more than the number of lines that are there, but that does give you a pretty good idea of the blanks that you have to fill in. Important to fill this out as you go, because at the end of your 12th grade year, you sure want to have every line filled in. If there's a line that you have never filled in, then you've got a problem, and it's called not having the credits required for graduation. Now, I fill one of these out as you go as well. I have one, we'll have one for each of you through high school. So if you ever need to stop in and look at it, you can do that. But it's not really my responsibility. I put that on the student to know that you are on track for graduation. I do stress to the parents that if I need something, if the student needs something, I really encourage and strongly suggest as we prepare them for college that they take the initiative on those things. If I need information from them, I'm going to them. I'm not going to you. You're welcome to chime in and tell me anything about it that you'd like, but I'm asking them first in most cases. And I encourage them, if they need to know something, send them. I much prefer that over you doing everything for them and them being lost as far as how to approach adults, professors, administrators, deans, and such when they get to college, having never experienced that before. Let them have that moment, and then you can email me on the side and tell me what you want me to know when they come to talk to me. Okay. But definitely print that, save it, and fill it out as we go. All right. Okay, the classes and the diplomas. Let's talk a little bit about that. There are 2 diploma options that the students may work towards. A standard diploma, again, recognized from our school as college prep, and then our honors diploma. Before I start to break down each of the possible honors classes, I will note that the honors diploma requires 12 high school credits, 12 credits on the high school transcript to be honors level or higher. So that's honors, dual enrollment, or AP classes, advanced placement classes, at least 12. So you have to average at least 3 per year. Okay. You can get more than that, but you'd have to get to at least 12 to get an honors diploma. It also notes there the valedictorian and salutatorian. They would be an honors graduate. That would be a sure thing, but they must also be enrolled here for all 4 years. So not that any of you are really worried about that today, but you know, if somebody comes in as a junior or something like that, they're not counting classes they took somewhere else to try to jump in and be our valedictorian. Our valedictorian, salutatorian will be friendship students all 4 years. Okay. Second section, the description of honors courses. There's a list of at least the current honors courses. Those could be added to over the next 4 years. By the time you reach senior year, we could add or even take away from some of those. Dual enrollment classes are the next section. Again, that's the list of the courses that we are currently offering. Those are taught, our dual enrollment classes are taught by teachers / college professors that are here. Our students do not have to leave to take those, and they're, at least at this time, there are no teachers that are full-time at a university coming here to teach those. Those will be our teachers that they've seen and taken classes from possibly before, or will several times maybe over the next 4 years. Dual credit courses, the next to the last paragraph from the bottom. There are some courses through our virtual school, and I'll mention here that we partner with Ethos Virtual School. It's a piece of the Greater Atlanta Christian School. They are a virtual partner in an effort to offer additional courses to some of the, what I would describe as smaller private schools in this region of the country. When I say smaller, they're about 1,500 enrollment. So they have obviously some additional faculty that other schools might not have. They have created this as a means, one, to pull kids together from different schools. Our students could be in a class with kids from 5, 10 other schools that are part of these courses, but it allows us to offer some classes that there might just not be enough people wanting to take for us to hire a teacher for that course. Maybe there's only one student that wants a specific course, but it allows schools to group together to offer additional classes. And some of those are for college credit. You see some of them in that list there. French, Latin, Chinese, Greek, Hebrew are the languages. There are some other courses, some creative writing, some Bible courses, and others that are offered for dual credit as well. With the dual enrollment and the ethos courses, there is an additional fee that would be added for choosing those courses. Finally, our advanced placement classes there at the bottom, most of them we have shifted to the virtual school. Again, AP chemistry shouldn't be there. That is still on site. The rest of those are accurate. So, you know, we may have a couple students that just really want to do computer science. So you can take AP computer science. I think we had 2 or 3 do that this year through the virtual school. Several of those we've had students take over the last few years, but usually it's a few. The languages we've had as many as 5 to 10 of our students in a single grade level choose to take Latin. Latin, a popular language for those wanting to do medical field or maybe some other careers, to learn, you know, the Latin prefixes and those kind of things. So let me stop there for just a second. Any questions on what you've seen on this page? I'll talk about the grade point average, how that factors in here in just a second, but I'll pause. Any questions on this page so far? Your polls in. Rachel, I know you spoke earlier. Can you confirm, are you seeing and hearing me okay?
Yes, to both.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Mr. Miller, is that Mandarin, the Chinese that they offer?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that is Mandarin.
Okay, and then another question that says these dual credit offerings do not earn a +3 on the grade or a +1.
Yes.
So they don't think extra. Okay.
Right. Yeah. Let me go ahead. I'll jump into that. So, in years past, and I don't remember exactly how long, maybe, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years ago, we did not used to have a weighted GPA. For the last 6, 7, 8 years, somewhere in there. We have, there were some students almost, not wanting to hurt their GPA, so they were afraid to take the higher level classes, for fear of, not getting an A, because not every student will. I think our junior year, our junior class this year, I think there were only 4 with president's list. So if you've grown up in elementary and middle school where everybody gets an A, well, not everybody gets an A, but that's not really our main goal. Is for everybody have a 4.0. We want to challenge. We want to have some grade distribution in that. So it's not the expectation that everybody in class will get A's, but that hopefully some will and several will. But to encourage them to go ahead and do that with our honors classes get a 0.5 GPA boost. So instead of an A being worth a 4 point, like most of us would have had when we went to school, the honors classes can earn a 4.5 for an A. So they get a half point boost on the GPA scale. The honors classes also get 3 points added to their grade at the end of the 9 weeks as, again, an encouragement to challenge themselves and take that grade. Obviously, they have a little more expected of them. So they get those bonuses at the end of the class. The dual enrollment and the AP classes get a +1 on the GPA. They also get the 3 points on the grade. Okay. The dual credit, the classes through the virtual school, most of them, you can get college credit for some of these that are not as high a level of classes, that like the Latin 1 does equate to what the college classes might be there, but we do not, we don't feel it's at the level of the calculus and the AP classes. So we do not do a GPA boost on those dual credit courses, but you can get college credit. So I have, may or may not know, I have a sophomore currently at Friendship. She has gotten, she's done 2 years of Latin, so she will have 6 college hours of Latin credit, in her bank to take with her to college right here. So, so you can get college credit for them, but you do not get a difficulty bonus for those classes. Okay. I'll pause again for any questions on this page. And Mr. Strickland, if you would like to jump in at any time, feel free to clarify or add to. Sorry, I just added a few to the waiting room. I apologize if you've been waiting for long. On my screen share, I had not seen you in the waiting room. Anybody else a question on this page? For those that did just join us, I mentioned at the beginning, this is being recorded, so I will send it out later today or tomorrow. You can go back and get caught up.
I do have one question about the dual credit courses.
Yep.
They don't count for extra towards the GPA. Are those considered honors level or higher for the honors diploma?
They are not.
Okay.
So like the Latin or French, the creative writing, those classes, they can basically choose to get college credit. That's an additional fee where basically you are paying the university. to register for that class at the college level, but you can choose to do those classes just for the high school credit as well. If you don't feel that college credit is something that you need or want, you can still take those classes, the dual credit classes through Ethos for or without the credit. Okay, continuing on, page 7, if you have your packet or it's on screen. To be in honors classes, the general guide is that the student must have had a 93 in the regular level course that preceded it to be considered. If they were in the honors course that preceded the class they're asking to be in, they would have to have at least an 88 to remain eligible for consideration. We just don't want to throw kids in there that, regular level is hard enough. Sometimes that's a difficult thing to determine, but we kind of use that as the starting point. Doesn't mean that everybody that has that score will be approved for that class. We kind of go student by student and even class by class. So some students may be approved for math, but not English, or the other way around. You don't have to do all or none. You can do some. But for some should be in all, some shouldn't be in any, and some maybe can handle 1 or 2, but not all 4. Looking at the 4 possibilities for the freshman year. If you're in those classes and really struggling, we may, as soon as we can determine that, try to bump you out, not as a penalty or anything, but, we don't mind students being in those honors classes, getting B's or even maybe some C's. But if you're getting below that, we're not wanting to, put you in a spot where you're damaging your GPA, hurting your chances for college scholarships and those kind of things. So we may make the decision to reassign you for the English class or the math or whatever it might be. The Ethos classes, they don't have, since those aren't really honors, each one might have, especially like the AP classes with Ethos, have their own requirements, too many to try to list here. General policy for enrolling in dual enrollment, in the second paragraph down. You should be completing honors work already. So if you get to junior year and you've never taken an honors class, it's unlikely that we're going to approve you for dual enrollment. We like to see you prove yourself at the honors level first before jumping into that. But in addition to that, Lipscomb, our college partner for, university partner for next year, they and the grant require a 21 ACT. That's another reason we have had all our sophomores take it here at school this year. Plus the following scores that are required for specific courses. You don't really have to worry about that yet until you're heading into your junior year, but you can kind of see some things there as you look ahead. I'll give you one example just to help explain. So if a student wanted to take college algebra, they would have to have a 21 ACT to be admitted to Lipscomb, and then they would have to have a 21 on math to be admitted to college algebra. So I hope that kind of clarifies what that looks like there. For Colorado Christian University, we haven't mentioned them yet. We have a few classes that we do with Colorado Christian University. They are also the dual enrollment partner for Greater Atlanta Christian. That was our initial connection with them. So this will be our 5th year with working with Colorado Christian. Great university that we have come to really appreciate. They allow us to do some things that maybe aren't included or part of the Tennessee dual enrollment program. So one of the classes that we offer through them is psychology. We allow some of our students that are honor students in their sophomore year to take psychology as a dual enrollment credit, as a dual enrollment class. But one of the reasons we use them for that class is that Tennessee requires students to be a junior. But we know that there are some of our students that are ready for a college class as a sophomore. So we go ahead, and that's one example of a class that for a specific reason we don't do with Lipscomb, but we will do that one with Colorado Christian so that our sophomores can join in that class. Advanced placement test policy. If you are in an advanced placement class, again, this is at least 2 years down the road. You must take the exam. We require that. If you don't complete the requirements of that course, which includes the test, then you don't get the +1 on the GPA, and we remove the +3 on your grade that you've gotten each 9 weeks. And you just have to basically do it to the best of your ability. You can't just sign in and not take the test and keep those extra points. We want you to take the test. We want you to try to get that college credit. And so we do require that test. Give me just 1 second. I do want to highlight for you, you may be unfamiliar if this is your oldest student reaching freshman year. Some of you may be doing this for the 3rd or 4th time, so welcome back if that's you. But if you're a first timer, I do want to highlight the difference between AP and dual enrollment. I'll also highlight, because we do sometimes get asked why we don't offer more AP classes. You may not be aware that dual enrollment classes you are taking through a university with a college level professor. At the end of that course, you have, in most cases, the 3 hours of college credit for that class. If you take an AP class, there is a test at the end of the year. In many AP courses, only a little over half of the students on average pass the test at the end of the year. You then get whatever score you got on that test, and you send that score to the university you want to go to. They have their own scale of, you must get this score on this test in order for us to give you college credit. And it's up to that university what score they're willing to accept. Okay. So there's several factors in there, which means you may take that course and leave that course without college credit. You know, it's kind of a chance you take. You know, there's a nice reward at the end of it for many students, but we have chosen to go the dual enrollment route that basically tells our students, yes, you have that college credit. You still have the situation of, you know, it's up to the colleges to determine, just like with any transfer credit, what they're willing to accept and what they're not. But in most cases, Lipscomb University credit will be well respected, and you will get credit for that course at that university. Give you a couple examples. More often than not, if a course is not accepted, it's because of 2 things. One might be that they require a specific course be taken for that major. For example, the psychology that I mentioned, there may be a specific psychology class for teachers. So, you know, they may say, well, you still have to take this class. So that's one example where there's a specific requirement the university has of a specific course that has to be taken for that major specifically. The other one is that a course taken sometimes in your major, they may say, no, you have to take that here. I'll mention an example I usually use in this meeting. My niece graduated here several years ago. She was going to college to be an English major, so they didn't count the English class that she had taken here. They said, you've got to take ours. Okay? So those are the couple of the examples, and Mr. Strickland, feel free to jump in on that. But I know that's kind of how I've explained it. Hopefully that's clear a little bit on why a course might not be accepted as a transfer class, but in almost all cases, our courses will transfer very well. You want to add anything on that, Mr. Strickland?
Not much to add. There's basically, you need to be aware, many tier 1 schools such as the Vanderbilts and that don't allow any credit, not even AP, dual enrollment. So if you're looking at those kind of schools, which is not real common in these days due to admission rates with students from Tennessee, basically you're not going to be able to transfer. But I rarely, if ever, see students not receive credit when it can fit in their schedule. My own daughter had more dual enrollment courses than she could fit into her bachelor of her BSN because of the nursing courses. So she missed out on a couple of them, but it was well worth her time and the cost that I'll explain later.
Yeah. All right, good, thank you. All right, any questions on that? I'll pause on this page and take a question or two with 3 or 4. Okay, we will go on. The last page is where they will choose their classes. You do not have to print this and send it in unless you are not a current student. I will actually be meeting with our current 8th graders tomorrow. We will do our pre-ACT test tomorrow, and then we'll fill these out at the conclusion of that. So this is what you will use to mark your core classes, the 6, not the elective. We'll do that later on down the road, a little closer to the end of the year. But for most of you, you will be choosing an Algebra 1 or a Geometry. If you have been in Honors Algebra 1 this year and it hasn't gone well, you do have the option. This is really the only time that you can repeat a class. Because we offered as an 8th grade class, we will allow this class to be repeated as a freshman for 2 reasons. One, it didn't go well. Maybe you just want to hit it again to lock in those skills before the next 4 important years of math. But we will also take that 8th grade year off your transcript and leave what you earn as a 9th grader. So kind of a nice opportunity there for those that may have struggled this year in challenging themselves with honors algebra. But for the most part, if you're in honors algebra 1 this year, most of you will probably move on to geometry, but a few may choose differently. If you're in 8th grade regular math, pre-algebra, or an 8th grade math at another school that's not algebra 1, you'll be going into algebra 1 this year. So for each of those first 4 options, you will be choosing either honors or regular. If you, I'll just highlight a few people, not specifically, but if you are sitting here saying, I just don't know what to do. If you got all A's this year, you probably want all honors next year. That's not a lot of you that maybe got all A's, but if I know 8th grade's a tough year here as well. But if for sure, if you got all A's, you probably want to choose all honors. If you did really well, you almost had all A's, you may still want to go all honors. I know Miss Espenshade's class pretty challenging, so a little bit of flexibility there. I said you had to have a 93. That's generally true. But if you were close, maybe most 9 weeks you did, but not every 9 weeks, something like that, you would probably still be considered a pretty strong candidate for honors biology, for example. Okay. Again, on these, you can do none. You can do all if you qualify and are approved, or you can mix and match a little bit, and maybe do the math and science, or some of you just are really strong there, but weaker in English, and maybe some of you the other way around. Okay. You would all circle Bible. You will all circle a language, either Spanish 1 taught here on site, or one of the virtuals. Notice sign language is an option, but if you're looking at the virtual option, it is not dual credit. You can't get any college credit for that, but the other languages, you can. Okay. Down at the bottom, the last thing are just some other virtual classes that might be of interest to you. Ones that are more appropriate for a freshman level compared to what you might be permitted to take as a senior down the line. Highlight creative writing. For those of you that are really interested in that, this could be your elective. I go ahead and take these requests now because if you sign up for creative writing, I just need to know that. The other electives will request in a few weeks. Creative writing is also available as dual credit. You see, notice it's creative writing 1 and 2. That basically for that class means fall and spring. I will highlight that the fall class is the section that is for college credit. Okay. So if you're wanting the college credit, you have to do it in the fall. You can then stop and do something else for the spring, or you can continue on and do the spring half of it if you just enjoy it. You know, it's a talent or something you want to try to improve. You can do it fall and spring, but the college credit portion is the fall. You can come in and do it just in the spring if you're not wanting the college credit, but fall for credit. There's an intro to engineering class called 3D modeling. That is just strictly a half year. That can be either semester. There's a computer programming class called Python. That's a 1 and a 2, and obviously for that one you would have to do the fall before you can do the spring. Music theory is an option through the virtual school. We've had 5 take that this year. So don't, with that, make sure you understand what music theory is. It's not just learning to play guitar or anything like that. It's learning, you know, the notes, the composition, you know, those kind of things. You may remember seeing an AP music theory down the road that could be an option to you, but you would need to take this one first if you want to take that one later. There are several Bible electives. Maybe that's a strong interest or passion for some of you. Maybe you want to consider a ministry major in college of some type. There are some of those available, several actually. So I don't list them all here because there are many of them. But some of those are dual credit possible. So our primary dual enrollment classes you cannot take until at least sophomore year for the psychology and later on for the rest. But you can do a language, you could do creative writing, you could do a Bible class and get some college credit for it as a freshman. So those are possibilities there. Okay. And then the last note there, you'll pick your elective and you'll have a sheet where you write down like what sports you want to play so that I can have that available if the coaches ask. That'll be here in a couple weeks. All right. Any questions on the core request page? And I got to wrap up. I got to give Mr. Strickland the scraps of time here in just a few minutes. So anybody a question on this sheet?
Hey, Jason, can I ask you a quick question?
Yes, please.
Hey, when is the freshman selection due to you?
We're going to do it tomorrow, and I do collect it at that meeting. I know if I saw, I think I saw it's a new student that maybe asked that question. Just email it to me, take a picture of it, send it to me, that kind of thing. I collect it tomorrow just so I can start going through and seeing how many classes of each subject we need, that kind of thing. Because there's honors and regular split. So, you know, I'll tell me, all right, I need 2 regular classes and 1 honors or whatever it might be. But I'll collect them tomorrow from the current students, but you can change it later that day, the next day, the next week, the next month, whatever. You can just email me and change something or send me a new one if you totally scrap that one and want to do it. But just let me get started on some of the things that I need to do to get ready for next year. For those, again, that are incoming new students for next year, just print it, send me a picture of it, or you can fill it out, you know, by writing on your screen or whatever, and screen share that to me.
Will there be any type of career path classes that you guys will offer? For example, if they're going in nursing or they're going in, I know I heard you say an engineering type thing.
Yes.
Do you guys offer any of that?
Yeah, we don't, not in the sense of the public schools. In the public schools, they have to choose their path, and then there's a list of classes they're required to take. We do offer some of those classes, but we don't require a path be selected. We will have, those would be on our elective sheet, but we will have some nursing classes, and we will have some different types of classes that they can kind of say, this is my first choice, this is my second choice. Obviously, you know, every class may not fit their schedule because of when their English has to be, or when their algebra has to be, or something like that. But I let them, they'll rank on the elective sheet their interest, and then I'll just pick their highest rank available that fits the opening in their schedule around their required classes.
Jason, let me throw in there real quick, maybe so that you can understand. I meet with the lifetime wellness classes, and we discuss, and we do some surveys and some discussion about next steps during the sophomore year with Miss Teeter's class. So maybe that's what you were asking, as far as, do we have a class where you have to, where you can explore occupations and those kind of things. We sort of help do some of those steps the sophomore year.
All right, I will stay and take more questions at the end, but we're down to 10 minutes, so I'm going to stop talking and let Mr. Strickland fly through his set. I apologize, as I do every year, for taking most of the time, but fire away. I think you got yourself muted there, Mr. Strickland.
There you go. Now we go. Thank you, Jason. Mr. Miller, real quick, want to sort of give you a few things. Now, I'm the school counselor, college career counselor. Mainly, we have another school counselor that mainly handles elementary students and the female population. I handle the male population, but we work together, and that is Miss Jada Boyd. And then really sort of together, Mr. Miller and I, we sort of form one super counselor. I do a lot of help with college choices, career exploration, scholarships, financial aid, testing accommodations and things like that, and general counseling. But Mr. Miller and we sort of work together on course choices, and he handles scheduling and those kind of things. So maybe that will help you. If you have questions, you can typically ask either one of us, but for the most part, we'll direct you to the one if we can't definitively answer your question. So as you go through this next few years, maybe that will help you know who to email or contact. Real quickly, the state scholarships, I want to talk to you. A lot of times I get questions very briefly about the Hope Scholarship. What does it take? Well, right now you want to begin thinking and making sure that your GPA is above a 3.0 so that you can get that $4,500 for the first 2 years and the $5,700 for the following 3 years, so that it's a 5-year scholarship. The dual enrollment grant, we've talked a lot about dual enrollment. It's key. We offer 14 courses. That's face-to-face courses here, and don't let that be confusing. Those are offered on campus here for us, and that's about 43 hours. We usually have students, our higher level students usually take between 24, 25, and 31 hours. Some overachievers go beyond that, but that gives options for you to begin thinking about if you're It's a great help financially. Get done with your first year of college or more if you choose. I know my eldest daughter years back graduated in 3 years from Lipscomb, and so it was a huge financial boost to us. That's not a requirement. That's just options for you to be able to get a head start on college. Tennessee Promise, get a lot of questions about Tennessee Promise. It's an Associate of Arts, not a degree. It's a degree. It's a 2-year degree that you can take at a number of the community colleges and also Cumberland University right here in our own backyard, which is a wonderful opportunity. I can answer more questions about that as the time approaches and how to go about that. We have each of our kids apply for the Tennessee Promise Scholarship. What a college is looking for, you want to begin thinking about that now, because believe it or not, I've been through this with 2 children. Mr. Miller's been through it with 2 and going through it with the 3rd. And the time moves quickly. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm not trying to depress you. I'm just trying to make sure that you're ready for the next steps. If this is your first child, if you've been through this already, you know how quickly the next 3.5 to 4 years moves. And so I want to encourage you, take care of your grade point average now. You've got to start strong to finish strong. Really, colleges and universities for admission and scholarship purposes only look at the first 6 semesters. So it's basically through your junior year. I want to make sure that you're aware of that. Another thing that's important is that you need to challenge yourself. Even if you think that, well, I'm not sure I can handle that, have your student challenge themselves now so that they can make determinations about what they want to do, because it's going to help them on the ACT and the SAT. We have a very strong ACT score, average score for our students, a mean, and we want to encourage you that we'd like that to go up. And many times I believe that will in the next year or so, as it continues to inch upwards as students challenge themselves and take advantage of the courses that we offer here. Because the ACT simply means money. You can see we've grown from 2013 to this past year, $9.7 million in scholarships, total scholarships offered. And that's basically an average. This is an offer, not what they use. What they use is somewhere an average of about $50,000, but what they're offered is around $200,000 per student. So keep your grades up. Begin now to discuss career paths. I would encourage you to also, you will take the ACT your sophomore year, the in-school in the spring. You can take it before that. You're allowed to sign up at actstudent.org. Then they'll also take it fall of their junior year until they receive the score goal that they want. Remember, you need to begin thinking about the ACT now and preparing and challenging yourself so that when you come to become a sophomore in your spring, you can take the ACT test and qualify for dual enrollment courses, which is that 21 composite and then the subject area tests that you'll need. Start visiting universities now. I know it's not, you say, well, I'm a freshman. You're going someplace on vacation, stop by. You're going to hear me say this over and over and over. Nothing can substitute you putting your feet on the campus, looking around, being part of it. And we're not just talking about game days at UTK. We're talking about, if you're going in a certain direction, stop by universities. Think about the difference and talk to your student about the difference between public universities and private universities. I encourage you to plan a meeting with me if you have questions, or you have things that we haven't made clear during this time. I encourage you to do that. In fact, I beg you to. And let's get your questions answered now so that the best possible outcome can happen for your students. If you want to think about ePrep, it's a little early now, but I would encourage you to get with me in regards to, you can begin to do small parts of the test, ways that students can prepare so that they can score really in about 18 months from now, preparing for the ACT. So it comes quickly, give you that opportunity. Here's my contact information. We'd love to talk to you, love to work with you. Appreciate you being here for this meeting. I am going to turn it back over to Mr. Miller, And well, first I want to ask, do you have any questions about what I've talked about in regards to college prep, scholarships, those kind of things? And I believe I got us done relatively early, unless there's a couple questions. Maybe we're just that good, Jason. We've done this 14 years.
Yeah, I can go a little longer next year.
Yeah, I'm telling you, you know, after 14 years of doing this together, after being a super counselor together, I think we have this down. He may have.
All right, questions for either of us? We are essentially done, but we'll answer questions till you get tired of asking them. So you're welcome to stay and listen, but we'll take your questions now.
I guess no news is good news.
Yes. Well, we will continue to leave it on here for a couple minutes and just make sure that you've got what you need. You are welcome to go. We will send this out as soon as it works its magic and uploads to my computer. So we will we'll call it there. Again, current 8th graders, if you are in CSA, you'll report to Ms. Espenshade. If you are not, you'll report to me in the seminar room. For testing, please bring wooden pencils. They say not to use mechanical on those bubble sheet tests. So wooden pencils, a calculator, a snack, a drink. You will not be able to go over to the coffee shop tomorrow during the testing. So bring that if you would like. And we'll hang around a few minutes. But thank you for coming. Have a great Sunday evening.
Mr. Miller, I got kicked out right at the end, so I missed just I guess the very last portion of Mr. Strickland, and maybe I can just listen to it on the, when you send it out. But for tomorrow, you said they need wooden pencils. Did I hear you say that?
Yes. I don't know how critical that is, but the bubble test that ACT does, they do say you shouldn't use mechanical. I guess just if it pushes through or shows on the flip side, you know, or something like that.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I see kids use them. I don't know if it ever hurts them or not.
I've never seen it in 14 years, hurt a student. Never once. They can't tell the difference. They all have number 2 lead in them.
Yeah. Anybody else? Last call. All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Strickland.
All right, we'll see ya.